I think we can take a few minutes for some questions. Or everybody is anxious to get into the corner and get coffee. All right, let's get the microphone. Yeah, we'll start there. Please remind us of your name and affiliation. And then let's stick with one-part questions. They seem to work better.
Yeah, thank you. Mark Balas-Quilt, we're a developer trying to use this technology and unlock it from the more operational side, because we're finding that not many people are willing to take the gamble. There's a lot of optimism and there's a lot of sad stories that we heard from you guys. So I'm just curious if you can channel into the optimism and just quickly give the high level of, you've given your learnings, but what are you doing now? And how has the past contributed to this new model and this continuous optimism for what is available and what is possible?
Fredrik, do you want to summarize that?
Yeah, I can try to do that. And I mean, for me, it's been, as I think I talked a little bit about this during the presentation, that for me, yes, we failed doing this, but I realized that this is possible and you just have to find the new ways. And I mean, I've been involved in this on my career in different other efforts as well. And I mean, I took this position now. I recently started a month ago, and that's because I really believe that a lot of this deeper understanding what is industrial construction and what is possible to do, I think really I can bring into Anebyhus, and I think it's yeah, I really look very optimistic to the future to achieve those things.
Randy?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just quietly doing the same thing. I mean, it's a reset back to the beginning, walk the same path, but hopefully this time I know where the mines are buried in the field, and I'm going to try and reach the edge, you know, the clear end of the minefield without stepping on the mines that we know are there, and hopefully the ones that we didn't see the first time won't blow our legs off either. But I mean, I guess I came away from Rad Urban with enough confidence that it can work, that it's really the only path forward for at least multifamily construction, that we're going to do it again, but avoid the same mistakes.
And yeah, you didn't get to talk what you're doing now, but you got the license to do the license yes, to do so.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the reason everybody's here is because everyone here is an optimist, and I think it's probably because you have a belief that our memories of the past have nothing to do with the facts about the future. The facts about the future are that we are going to move to more industrial construction. It's just a fact. And so again, I come back to, so how do you execute towards that, and what type of information, machines, data, process, methodology you need to get there? And that doesn't mean it's easy, because culture kills innovation and technology in particular really easily. And when you're in, as we heard, a highly fragmented supply chain from the point of view where costs are incurred, and a cost plus way of thinking about putting together budgets around how to deliver a building, then it becomes incredibly complex. So I kind of think of it this way, is that if we only could deliver 10% of the, let's call it the 10 trillion, I know it's an arguable number, the 10 trillion of buildings that need to be delivered, then 10% through industrial construction could make a massive difference in the industry. And I think I think we got to get away from an all or nothing way of thinking about it. And to do that, we need technologies and technologists to almost get out of the way of trying to just think about orientating themselves around things that are currently the way they make money. So why don't you get the software and technologies you need from the current large software companies? Because just like construction itself, that they have built a way of making money that's orientated around things like building information modeling being at the center of the universe. Now, I'm an ex-Revit guy. I'm partly to blame, But I think putting a building information model at the center is not the way forward. I think it's part of the context. I don't think it's all the context. I think the 50 to 60% of data that's dark out there can be way more impactful. Just one example, if I may, is nearly every company I speak to at the end of each project does a debrief and a lessons learned document. How many companies in this room go back to those lessons learned documents and cross-reference them in any way that could be used as information and intelligence for the next projects they do? This stuff all exists, you know, and it's there and it's ready for us to look at. And the good news is that machines are really good at understanding this stuff. You just need people brighter than me to go and make it happen for us. And I think that's where we need to go. That's what we're doing anyway. It's like.
Right, yeah.
So I would just personally like to express sincere thanks to all of you who have shared your failures with us. It's almost a universal experience when you go to a conference like this that people tell you about all the wonderful successes they've had, from which both they and we don't often learn nearly as much as we learn from people talking about failure. So thank you all very sincerely. I've learned a lot from your sharing today. And please don't give up. Keep on trucking. Randy, Jürger, Fredrik, and Martin. So thank you.
Yeah. Can we have one more question? Oh, one online. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have one online that I want to direct to Jürger and Fredrik. Jonas writes, thanks for an interesting presentation. What kind of similarities in terms of implementation stories and possible challenges do NCC Complete and Beauclerk share? And what could you learn from comparing the two?
Well, maybe if I give the Beauclerk view of that, I think Beauclerk has applied a fairly strict step-by-step approach, trying to be as capital light as possible from the start, and combined with a super narrow range of the customer offering, as narrow as possible. And maybe the third is that we are developers with our product portfolio and our production facility. So we control our land bank and our project pipeline ourselves. What you said, Fredrik, that maybe that's what we should have done as to start with. So I think those three are some of the sort of differences between us, but there are many similarities also in terms of, I mean, the whole logic, the industrialized logic. There are a lot of similarities.
Yeah, but I agree, Jürger. It was two totally different approaches on trying to get industrialized and trying to reach the same goal, or at least the same goal. And I mean, for me, Beauclerk started up even earlier than NCC Complete did, and had a very slow start. One must say, looking from the outside, it's thought that maybe it will not ever lift, but it lifted because you did continue to work, you did continue to have your plan, and you didn't leave it. I think that's the thing to learn from it. And as you mentioned, I think most of these industrial systems benefits highly if you can have your own development, your own ground, or have clients that are very, so you can come in early in the process and you can have a more consistent flow. And I think you have benefit a lot of that. And at NCC, we really could have done that, but that was not really in the scope at that time, given the circumstances around the market and the challenge that the CEO needed to drive through in the whole business and so on. So I think that's big difference on how we approach it.
Hello, I'm Niels Falk from HD Lab in Copenhagen, Denmark. I too am a failed industrialist. I used to work for a small company called Skanska that had an initiative called Skanska Exchange, where we also managed to burn a lot of cash and I don't know, do some good. But one of the things that came out of that in our evaluation was that the benefits of industrialization was very much in quality and productivity, and that does not necessarily bring value to many of the project participants. I agree. It's like the aristocracy of the project that gets the money back. So there's a lot of people in the project that don't necessarily have a very good incentive to participate or to change. So how do you guys see the growing focus of sustainability as a driver in our industry for something that actually has value for all the participants and could be a driver for a more industrialized building over the next 5 years?
Can I go first there? Because I was reading a report yesterday because I was wondering what would come up around sustainability, particularly from a client perspective or a customer perspective. And there's not a lot out there actually when you look for why people make buying decisions, particularly around residential. And there was 2 facts that I found fascinating. One is that 40% of those surveyed, this is for single family housing or housing, so said they were less likely, dramatically less likely to buy a house if there were two toilets in the same bathroom, which I thought was an obvious statistic. The other one that was interesting though, it said 70% of people respond favorably when you ask them would they want a building that was going to create sustainability, on the planet. But then asked would they pay for it, it was less than 5%. So I think that really points to some of the challenges. And it's like, I think one of the things when you put together a strategy around any form of manufacturing, construction methodology, really, is you've got to understand what's table stakes, what does quality mean to your end user? Because you may love the fact that you can put a laser along the walls where you've done the panels in a factory, and compared with them being done on site, they are dramatically better, but who pays for it? Or who will pay for it? And I think that's one of the challenges we have on how do you sell methodology that's different from the way we currently work.
Any other thoughts from online? Yeah, Randy?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a perspective on this related more to urbanism, and it's my view that if you look at housing, particularly in the US, if we can focus on delivering urban housing at scale at a dramatically lower cost than suburban housing, then we will build more sustainable cities. Just by the fact that urban residents have a carbon footprint that's maybe 1/3 of suburban residents. And so it's kind of, I mean, it seems obvious to us that a bus is a more efficient form of transportation than a car, that a 787 is more efficient than a Gulfstream, that a 5 megawatt wind turbine is more efficient than a 100 kilowatt wind turbine. And yet it's generally cheaper to go rent a 1,000 square foot suburban apartment than a 1,000 square foot urban apartment. But I believe that high rises, because they have so much scale, and if things are priced correctly in terms of the infrastructure to support density, that industrialization initiatives that improve and make urban construction more cost effective than suburban, that will drive sustainability.
Great. I think that's a fantastic closing comment, Randy. Really, also on my side, my sincere thanks for sharing these lessons and insights. Richard, Randy, Fredrik, and Jörker, please, round of applause.